There's Noodle creeping on the neighbors. You creeper. You creepy dog. There's Chopstick being a derp. Chopstick. Silly dog. Noodle, you creeping? Alright everybody, welcome to video 4. So where we left off, we were just turning the motor over with the starter, and I'm going to do a little more of that today. So as you can see, I still have the valve covers off, and as of now all the push rods open valves very well, and they all spin with the exception of this one. Now last time you saw this, it really didn't do anything, but now I actually have it moving, which means it is freeing up. The push rod spins by hand, but I don't think the lifter underneath does. So I'm not going to worry about it too much yet. What I'm going to do is get the engine to fire, build up some real oil pressure, and then hopefully heat and exercise will loosen it up. I have the spark plugs out of it, so we can turn it over just a little bit faster than we could before. Obviously it's not as fast as when it's running, but we can watch all the rocker arms and the push rods, and they actually work pretty well. The exception of that one. Go here on the other side. You guys can barely even see those. So that, you know what, just turning the engine over with the starter is loosening things up little by little, and I'm hoping with it actually running and with heat and with real oil pressure, a lot of the problems will go away. So what I'm going to do is, since I'm still waiting on some of the ignition stuff, I have other ignition things that I can put in. For example, I have spark plugs, and I also have a set of brand new spark plug wires. Now you might think, oh, this is a waste of money, but really, let me show you. To start, I had at least one plug wire come apart. See that? The end came off of it. Now you could probably fix that, but you know, for the 20 bucks it costs to do plug wires, it's not that big of a deal. The other thing that I want to show you guys is, believe it or not, there's quite a bit of, I mean, these are old wires. You see that cracking and stuff on that? It's pretty bad. I mean, new wires will definitely help. So we will do that really quick, and then once we get my ignition stuff in the mail, we will see if we can't fire it up again. Alright, in digging around inside the distributor, I found one of the ground wires was threadbare. So I'm going to fix that. The other thing I also found was my distributor cap wasn't on all the way last time I turned the motor over. So we'll get that sorted out. I finally broke down, and I'm going to use these points that I bought in order to, right there, put those in the distributor, and hopefully that works out. I turned it over with one spark plug wire hooked up and the coil hooked up, and I got one spark out of the spark plug and then it died. So hopefully it's just because the points went bad. I don't know. And they don't look too bad in there, but either way, I'm still waiting on parts, and it kind of sucks because right now is a great time just to swap everything out. So last time you guys saw a video, we were trying to get spark and it wasn't working. The other thing that we discovered was we were missing the neutral safety switch in order to use the key inside the car to turn the motor over. So here is a couple parts that I got. I got a new coil, I got a new condenser, but also here's a neutral safety switch that I have, I got off eBay. So weirdly enough, usually neutral safety switches are basically just power and then two contacts, and that's it. And what it does is it only allows a solenoid to get power when you're in park or in neutral. Now, what are all the rest of these connections for? So weirdly enough, in 53, the gear shift indicator in this car, let me show it to you. Can't see that. Anyway, neutral drive, S, L, and R. So that indicator in there is driven by an electronic solenoid. I mean, that's really high tech for such a low tech car. But as you can see in this wiring diagram, it says hydromatic indicator solenoids. Now, if this had a 3-speed, obviously it wouldn't have that, but that's why this neutral safety switch is so goofy. So it mounts down here on the column, and the way that it mounts is it mounts like this, and then it has an arm. You guys can't see that. And it has an arm right there that moves with the gear shift selector. So as the gear shift moves down, this arm moves with it and changes position. So I have that now. The only hard thing I had to do was I had to trace every single wire using my wiring diagram and this multimeter to make sure I have the right wires plugged in. So if you look, I mean, there's battery, and then it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So there's 7 wires that need to go here, and I have them all tagged. Now the way that I did that was I attached my ohm meter to where they're supposed to end up. So for example, if one wire needed to go to the solenoid side of the ignition switch, I attached it there, and then used this in order to trace it and find out which wire went where. So I have them all tagged correctly, which is good. The weirdest part is I have this wire and then also this wire that I have no idea where they go. The real problem with this Oldsmobile is that all the wiring was coated by this cloth sheath that's around the wires, and as you can see, it kind of just turns to dust. So finding out what wires go where, it would be easy on a newer car. I mean, they're all color coded, but these ones were color coded using those cloth outsides, and they've all turned really dirty or disappeared. So with that being said, we'll install this neutral safety switch. Hopefully I can adjust it the way it needs to be adjusted, and then we'll hook the battery up to it and see if we can get the engine to turn over with the key. With the neutral safety switch installed and the battery hooked up and all the wiring checked, at least some of the wiring checked underneath the dash, we can check and see what works on the instrument panel. So I'm going to try to do this with one hand. So right now I'm going to put it to accessory. Alright, so we got that moved. Temperature, fuel, oil, and amps. So I'm going to turn them back off. So I know that fuel, the gauge actually works, doesn't mean there's it's correct, but I am happy about the indicator working. That's super cool. And then reverse, I guess it disappears. I read something about that in the book, that it's supposed to do that, which seems kind of silly, but alright, let's see. I don't got any turn signals to speak of. It lit. I mean, I saw, you see that? It changes color. That's one more thing we can figure out later. Since we got the battery hooked up, let's see if the engine will turn over with the key. Yes, it does. That's exciting. Alright. Turn the lights on. That light works. That light works. In the back, I don't think that one's working, but that one's working for sure. Alright, we got something. We got some things. License plate light's not working, but that's okay. Alright, we can turn it over by hand, or we can turn it over by the key now, so that's a huge step forward. I like that. So now we need to work on getting spark. I had forgotten to plug in one of the three oh, my brights indicator works. I had forgotten to plug in one of the three plugs that goes to this selector shift. There we go. Look at that. Dunk, dunk. That's awesome. Alright, it looks like it's working like it should. I see my brights indicator still works, so that's good. Turn on parking lights and see if we get something there. I don't see any parking lights coming on, but they might just be for turn signals, I don't know. There's obviously issues with the turn signal. But yeah, that's cool. That indicator is all electronic and it works just fine. That doesn't do anything. Okay, there you go. There's no radio to speak of, so can't test that. There's no clock, can't test that. Interior light needs a bulb. But yeah, little by little. Alright, I have one plug out and grounded. We'll turn the motor over and see if it wants to fire. Why? Alright guys, this Oldsmobile is kicking my butt. So I finally get this ignition system figured out. I get the coil to actually go, and then I go to turn the key over, and guess what? The starter doesn't engage. All that works is the solenoid. You can hear the solenoid clicking, and that's it. So I go into the car with one of those remote switches. Basically what it does is takes the battery 12 volts and puts it to the correct post on the solenoid, which should get the starter to engage. But guess what? All it does is click. So that tells me that my ignition switch is good, my battery is good, my cables are good. It's the starter that was supposedly rebuilt and beautiful is crap, and it doesn't work. So I'm going to bench test it. I'm going to pull it out, see if I can't return it. It was stupid expensive. But I'm going to have to end this video without the stupid engine running. Believe me, I've been not putting this video out because I wanted to at least have it fire for a little bit. And I'm this close, but guess what? Starter went out. So, back to eBay. Crap.